Oh my goodness, you guys. My neighbor's got a puppy. That puppy's so cute. Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're having a really good day so far. If you're new to my channel, my name's Taylor. I come to you from Baltimore, Maryland, and on my YouTube channel here, I feature content that is generally focused on knitting and spinning. In the Thread to Mend podcast series of videos, we sit down together and I share with you all the things that I am making in real time. If you haven't already, do please consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to see you join us here in this little community that I'm working to build. I can't say enough how comforting it is to have this platform to sit down and talk about the things that I am doing in my making, creating garments and making objects that hadn't existed before they kind of went through my hands has been an incredible source of comfort to me, and I just want to share that all with you all. And if you're interested, just keep watching, I guess. I'm having a little bit of a rough week, and I can wait until later in the podcast to talk about all of that. I know not all of you are here to discuss personal details, and so I'm going to be mindful in the middle of the video to let you know if you're just here for the knitting or just here for the spinning, when is an appropriate time for you to decide to exit should you care to skip any of the personal stuff. So if you're still with me now, thank you for being here. It means so much to me to have you watching and sharing in the subject of working with yarn. So I'm just gonna dive right into the knitting now. I have to admit, I don't have any progress to show you on the two projects that I featured in my previous podcast episode, and that is because I have devoted the majority of my time in this last week to completing the cardigan design that I had shown off to you all, a little bit of a preview, and finished writing the pattern for that and getting it into the hands of some test knitters. So that is really exciting news, a really productive sort of week for me in one regard, but also I don't have a lot to share with you all in this week's episode, but one new project I've cast on. If you're interested in knowing what I'm talking about and you haven't already checked out my previous podcast episode, I'll leave a link to it here so you can click on that and watch it maybe when you're done with this one. But yes, I have designed my first cardigan and it is very exciting. I feel like it's a huge accomplishment for me, something that I feel quite a bit proud of, and I know there is still a little bit of work to do to just make sure it is absolutely perfect and ready for your making should you choose to invest the time. And I just want to thank all of you out there for your support in the comments section of my previous podcast episode. It was very comforting to me to hear what your thoughts were on the subjects discussed. So thank you so much for being here. Now we'll get into the knitting. There's just one project I have to show you this week. It is a hat design of my own making, and I'm knitting it with Brooklyn Tweed's Arbor yarn. If you're not familiar with Brooklyn Tweed's Arbor yarn, it is a worsted spun DK weight yarn, and it is quite lovely. It's a 3-ply yarn, and whenever you're combining worsted spinning and more than 2 plies, so 3 and up, you're gonna get a nice round yarn, and round yarns will offer a great stitch definition. So I'm really excited to shift from knitting cables with a woolen spun yarn to knitting cables with a worsted spun yarn, because they really do pop, and it is quite fun to see them progress into the big picture of the cable. This is a design that I hope would be a really good introduction for new knitters to cables to accomplish, because it really only utilizes, I think, 2 types of cable stitches. And so, well, that's not true. In the beginning of the cabling, it's just 2 different types of cables. Once I get to the crown, where there will be more decreases to shape the top of the hat, I expect that there may be more cable stitches included in that process. Haven't really completed that part of this project yet, but I do feel like this would be a good introduction to cabling for some people, and that's mainly because of the amount of knits and purls that you get to in the beginning. There's so much time spent in all of this part of the hat that by the time you're here, I think you're ready. So if you can handle knits and purls, I think you can handle a few cables, and I am so excited to make this. It's really squishy. I've never knit with this yarn before. I have to say I am very impressed. It is both soft but sturdy, and it's a really well constructed yarn. I cannot remember what I paid for this, but Brooklyn Tweeds yarns are a little outside of my price range most of the time, and I know that when I saw this in person, I needed to have it, and I invested in 2 skeins, just enough to make a single small project. And I'm really glad to finally bring it into fruition, because it's such a lovely fiber, and I can't wait to wear it. That's all I can say. The winters here in Maryland are quite cold. They're not cold in comparison to other areas, even a little bit north of us, but I can say, you know, we're almost in February. It's late January now, and I'm ready for spring. That's mostly because I'm a gardener too, and I'm planting the garden and really excited about that, but I digress. This is a really fun knit so far. I'm hoping to write the pattern up by the end of today, and maybe even get it online before this podcast episode is uploaded. I'll just try it on really quick. Don't you love that? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you want to wear it? I know a lot of you out there are fans of Bailey Sarian, and I can't help but utter her words whenever I'm putting something on. I always think, do you like it? Do you love it? Do you want to wear it? So that is a hat. I'm not sure what I'm calling it yet, but I will have the pattern online. And oh, I had a comment from a viewer who lives in Lebanon, and she let me know that she's not able to purchase my patterns on Ravelry just because of a processing issue that they have in their country. They're not able to process, I think, through PayPal. So I decided to put my patterns for sale online through Lovecrafts so that they're available to more people in the world. Should you wish to purchase and download any of my patterns and you're not able to access Ravelry for one reason or another, my patterns are now finally posted for sale online through Lovecrafts. So I'll be careful to add a link below in the description box so that if you're one of those people out there and finally have access to my patterns, you know where to find them. And I've also been considering whether I should create a website for myself. I feel like a website does kind of make it real, and I purchased a domain under my handle, which I use for almost everything. It's Taylor E. Owen, and I just don't know yet if I'm going to use it or not, because I don't know if it's worth the expense of paying for something like Squarespace. And I'm bringing this up to ask any of you out there, should I do it? What would you recommend? Do you think I should build a website? I don't know if I should just make one and link to everything else, or if I should perhaps invest in an e-commerce site to sell my patterns on my own website. I'd just love to know what you think is worth doing. I don't know. Any feedback you have for me is always welcome. Any suggestions are welcome too. And that's all I have to say about knitting and spinning this week. I've not done any spinning at all, no fiber prep, just designing and writing and correspondences. And if that's all you're here for, have a great day. I wish you the best, and I want you to take care. If you'd love to hear about things happening in my life, then feel free to continue watching. I have to say, being unemployed stresses me out to the max. I've been actively seeking new employment each and every day, not because it's entirely necessary. I wish I knew how to pause and just be comfortable with uncertainty, but I have a really hard time with that. I really want to know what's next. And so I had an interview yesterday with a HR person at a company that sounded really, really incredible. And I don't think that the interview went very well. I positioned myself here where I feel like it's most impressive, but I record these videos at around 9:30 till 11:30 in the day, and the sun is low enough that the lighting is ideal. My interview yesterday was at 2:30, 3 o'clock, and the sun was shining in such a way that I looked like a ghost, and I was totally blown out. And I just had so many regrets about the way that I handled the conversation. I feel like I have a really hard time boosting my own confidence before I feel like I'm being evaluated. Like, when I'm sitting down to podcast with you all, I don't feel like, I mean, as much as you might be evaluating me, I kind of feel like it's a friendly environment where I don't necessarily have to prove myself. But when I'm sitting down for an interview, I feel like I have to prove myself. And nervously, I feel like I go into the wrong topics of conversation. Maybe just because I feel so vulnerable, and so my attention shifts to my vulnerabilities, and somehow I end up talking about those before I'm talking about my actual skills and my talents and the things that would generally increase my confidence. So I've just been feeling a lot of feelings lately about being unemployed and what that means, and just job prospects out there in the world. I don't really know quite what to do with my life, except I like the security of having a full-time job. Even though I don't need the benefits, I have those through my spouse. I don't know, that's what I kind of want, and I don't know if it's even smart for me to focus so intently on a potential drain on, other parts of my life that bring me joy. I'm trying to stay focused now on what I heard Andrea Mowry say in a live chat yesterday, gatekeeping my happiness and making sure that I'm prioritizing my own sense of joy. And I'm trying to conceptualize whether that is possible, even occupationally. Like, can I perhaps re-envision what work is? And I want to think so, but I don't know what to think anymore. I just feel a little overwhelmed by the world. And ideally, I find some type of remote work, because I can't imagine I will be on any particular list for a vaccine anytime soon. I could, of course, stay on unemployment for a short while and just take the time to figure things out, which would be smart. But anyway, I'm just thinking out loud right now. There's also an opportunity I want to apply for that would be really cool in my mind. I don't know how it would help me progress a professional career, but I would love to consider working on a farm and having a totally different sort of relationship to work than what I have on my resume already. So I'm kind of like at a point right now where I could move in any direction I choose, and I don't know which one to move into. So there's that. I'm not sure what's happening, but there's some type of announcement being made on a amplifying device outside. I'm sure that it's being picked up in the audio here, so I wonder if it's time I make this episode a short one. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. That's gonna be it for today's episode of the Thread to Mend podcast. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, do please give it a thumbs up. It helps me so much in growing my channel here on YouTube. And I just want to thank you so much for being here. If you haven't found me on social media though, you can find me as Taylor E. Owen on Ravelry, Instagram, or Twitter. And I hope that you'll reach out, let me know if you're there, and have a great day. Take care.